I wish I had a more aesthetic background for you, but this is the corner of shame. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now for today's video, I'm doing my first ever 2022 book haul. It's been quite a while since I've done a book haul. It's been 2 months if I remember correctly. It's not because I'm not buying books. It's not because I don't like showing off my books. It's because that the towers of shame, which I like to call where I keep all the books that I have to haul for you guys, is always very messy, and after I haul them I like to put them away and put them aside so I know exactly which books I showed you guys already and which books that I have yet to show you. So it's the idea of moving these books to a different corner of my room, moving these books to a different location in my house, that makes me not want to film these videos. But you guys didn't come here to hear about me complaining about organizing my room and making my room less messy. Let's get started with some of the books that I have to haul for you. So I picked up an indie romance called A Rake Like You by Becky Michaels. I think this is book number 2 in a Becky Michaels series that I have since started collecting last year. I was really excited to get this copy, mostly because I love the illustration of this cover. It's so gorgeous, it's so beautiful. If you guys don't know who the illustrator is, it's Lenny Kaufman, and she's on Instagram. I love watching her upload her pieces of artwork because I just want to buy up every single book that she has designed the cover for. I haven't read this author yet. I don't know if she's any good. I don't know if any of the authors that she illustrates for are good, but I just want to buy all the books that she illustrates for. Needless to say, this follows the story of our Duke who is destitute. He needs to marry rich, and our heroine has just been left with an inheritance that is a lot of money, and she just wants to manage her estate. She wants to be a single woman for life because she is 29 years old now. But they fall in love, obviously, and I'm so excited to read more historical romance this year, especially indie romance authors like Becky Michaels. So I'm not much into cosplay, and I don't really know too much about cosplay, but I like watching people do cosplay because they just amaze me with their outfits and their passion to dress like their favorite characters. This is a romance about this. So this book follows our heroine who is really into manga, anime, and she's basically in every single fandom that you can think of. She's very passionate about the things that she likes. She wants to turn her creative hobby into a career, and she has this chance when she joins a reality TV show, which I assume is about cosplay. And there is this one final round where she has to dress up as an iconic duo, but the problem is that she doesn't have a boyfriend. So she asks her best friend to pretend to be her boyfriend, and this is the story of a friends to lovers romance. I can't wait to dive into this one. This one just released in December. And if you're looking for an opposites attract romance, definitely check out this new one from Lauren Lane. This one's called Made in Manhattan, and I'm so excited to read Lauren Lane's latest novels. She did write a novel last year that I didn't really like, so I hope that this will be a lot better. But basically, our female heroine is elite status. She is born into class. She knows how to properly behave herself. She knows, all the designer brands that Manhattan, New York, that the world has to offer, and she knows how to dress herself. But this is a story of her being kind of hired to train an heir to this empire of like this company, and our hero is born not like her, born on the opposite side of the tracks. He's kind of born like on a farm in Louisiana, and he doesn't want to be the heir of this company, but he needs to be taught how to properly behave himself in Manhattan society. So it's this kind of story where it's opposites attract, and I hope that this romance would have the type of plotline that I really enjoy, where our heroine learns to bend the rules and our hero learns that maybe he can also clean up around the edges too as well. We're always looking for new historical romances that challenge, the social norm and the structure of society. It sounds exactly like one of those types of book by Envy Dunmore, where we have a very feminist, radical heroine that I really want to read more of and that I really appreciate. Our female heroine knows that she does not stand out among the other debutantes in society, so she decides to make a really big splash. Her way of having that attention on her is to actually ride horses. And I assume, because I don't know too much about history, but I assume that females back then aren't supposed to be competing in competitions where it deals with riding, because they're supposed to be standing on the sidelines and watching their fiancés or their husbands do it. Anyways, she falls in love with a tailor who likes to make suitable clothing for females that they can move around and that they can do day-to-day activities without being so restricted. So this one sounds like a good romance that involves a lot of just fighting back the norms of what females should be doing in society. And then we have a new one called The Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. She was the author of the X Talk. Now, I haven't read the X Talk, but I know that my friends have read it and they really enjoyed the book. So I wasn't too hesitant to pre-order a copy of this, and it did come in. So this one involves our female heroine who is a meteorologist, and I have been diving into meteorology, like not like saying like I'm trying to learn how to predict the weather, but I've been watching a lot of news bloopers and it's just so interesting and so fascinating to see them screw up all the time. But anyways, that's not the story. The story is that our female heroine has a boss that is not giving her the mentorship that she really needs to really drive her career, because her boss has like very poor relationship with her ex-husband, who is also the director of the news station. So she teams up with the sports reporter at the same station that they both work in to try to solve their boss's relationships. And they also end up falling in love. I feel like that this book reminds me of the movie called Morning Glory, and then also that Netflix movie, I think called Set It Up. I forget if that's the title of the book, but it's essentially two employees trying to fix their boss's relationship. I was at the mall yesterday, and I don't know why, but I've been meaning to treat myself for some time now, and I picked up a random book. This book looks so cute. It looks so pretty. It's pink. It's my favorite color. But this one's called Without a Hitch by Mary Hollis Huddleston and Asher Fogel Paul, and it's set in the wedding season. So it's right around the corner, you know, like right around the corner of spring is where everybody gets married. But basically our female heroine is a wedding planner. She needs to step up her career, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to step up her career, including planning her ex-boyfriend's wedding. And there's just like, it just sounds like there's just so many shenanigans that will take place in this book that will make her job a lot harder, and I think it'll be really interesting and be really fun too as well. But I also can sense that from the synopsis this might have kind of a women's fiction feel too as well. It's because it's about our female heroine discovering herself and for her to realize what makes her happy. Another new romance that I just picked up is this one called Love at First Bite by Anna E. Collins. This is about our female heroine who was cheated on by her husband or her boyfriend. So she decides to act revenge on him by buying the empty vacant lot right beside his new house. And she decides that she wants to build like this rental unit to destroy his view. And the person that she hires to help build that rental unit is our hero, who is an architect. And I feel like that this one's going to be super fun, with our heroine just trying to sabotage her ex's life, and our hero just kind of watching her and helping her every step of the way. And then I received a copy of this book from Alison Bliss called Out of the Blue from Forever Romance. This one involves our plus-size female heroine going to the gym for like the first time in many years, and she accidentally like live broadcasts her fitness journey, and everybody loves it. Everybody tunes in, watches her, and wants to see more of her working out. But then she decides that, you know what, since everybody is so positive about it, she's gonna do it. And she ends up falling for a guy that also works out in the gym. I expect this book to have a lot of body positivity and to talk about body image as well. And then I picked up a thrifted copy of Sweethand by N.G. Pelter, and the reason why I did a thrifted copy is because on Amazon there were no new copies available, so I just did a thrifted copy, but the condition's pretty good. It's a little bit well loved, but it's whatever. This is an enemies to lovers romance between our hero and our heroine, and they were lifelong rivals, and they're back in Trinidad for the first time at the same time for her best friend's wedding, and he is the best man while she is the maid of honor. I expect this book to be really fun and sassy and sweet. I think a lot of my friends really enjoyed this one. Okay, so another book that I picked up was this one called The Wedding Ringer by Carrie Ria, but I've also already read this book already. I just never reviewed it. But this one is involving our female heroine who is like a cosplayer for children birthday parties. So she dresses up in these like princess costumes and she pretends to be this princess. She bumps into her best friend who actually hooked up with her boyfriend. So needless to say, that relationship fizzled out and exploded, and she's completely hurt by it. She's ridiculed by it. But at that same kid's birthday party, she bumps into this new girl, and this new girl is getting married soon. So they have this really nice connection. So the new girl asks her to pretend to be her maid of honor for the wedding because the new girl doesn't have any friends, and our female heroine doesn't want to be attached to anybody anymore simply because of her past relationship with her best friend and how that exploded in her face. And then afterwards, this book is also an enemies to lovers romance because she falls in love with a guy that might have insulted her, but she can't really just stop thinking about him because he's so involved in the new girl's wedding too as well. So this one is kind of like a fake friendship wedding trope book, and I quite enjoyed it. So if you're looking for another enemies to lovers romance, this one might be for you. This one's called How to Hate / Love Your Neighbor by Sophie Sullivan. I've read Sophie Sullivan's works before. They were good, so I decided to pick up her latest novel from this year. I think the cover is gorgeous, by the way. Our heroine is a fixer-upper. She buys a piece of property. She wants to fix it up so that she can sell it for a profit, obviously. Our hero sees this opportunity to seize the property to make a lot of profit, but he just needs to convince her to sell the piece of property to him. So they're bickering back and forth, and it's going to be a fun enemies to lovers shenanigan filled book. Moving on to more indie romances that I did pick up. This one's called For Vacation Only by Mila Nix, and this one involves our hero and heroine going on a cruise ship together. They both have really bad relationships that ended, and then they don't want to, dive into a relationship again because they're very hurt by it, but they decide to be friends, and he helps her kind of like navigate the new island that they're traveling through. So he acts as a tour guide, but obviously it turns from friends to lovers. Okay, so I'm not really into cozy mysteries, but I really had to buy this book simply because of the illustration. Once again, it's by Lenny Kaufman, and there's like a freaking cat on this book, and she's wearing a hat. It's so cute. But this one involves our heroine who owns a cemetery, and she is responsible for it, and everything's running really well except for that there's now an extra body, and then our hero steps in. Our hero is a special agent, and he's here to help her solve the crime of who committed this murder. And it's a fairly thin novel. I'm really excited to dive into it, and the cover is just simply gorgeous. Okay, so another indie romance that I did pick up is this one called Acting Up by Adele Buck. This one involves our hero and heroine who are the perfect creative team. So he is a theater director, she is a stage manager. They've been friends forever, for a very, very long time, and our heroine unfortunately has unrequited love for him. So there's like this like pining situation that happens, and our hero is completely clueless, I feel like, and he hires her worst enemy to help out with the next production of this next play. And I feel like that this one is just going to be so angsty and emotional too as well, so I'm super excited to read this one. I'm filming this book haul, and I just realized that I ordered the first book in this series and I never got it yet, and I should have gotten it already because I've ordered it back in December. So I'm a little bit annoyed, but the next book that I picked up is this one called Rake Like You. This is like book number 2 in this anthology from a bunch of contemporary romance authors that have decided to write historical romance. Of course, we still have our traditional historical romance authors in here. So we have Sarah Simone, we have Joanna Shupe, Eva Leigh, Nicola Davison, and Adriana Herrera. And I'm excited to read this one. I was going to pick it up for my historical romance readathon that I hosted with my friends last year, but as you can tell from my reading vlogs back then, I wasn't really in the mood for historical romance, so this one was just kind of left on a back burner. It is a very heavy and chunky book. I've been buying a lot more indie romances recently, but I've only been spending my money on indie romances that I know that I love the cover for, or that I've read before, and I just want to own a physical copy on my shelf. So I actually picked up the Reindeer Falls collection series volume 1 by Jane Austen last year around the fall time, and I really enjoyed it. There's this one book in this one that's called The Boss Who Stole Christmas. That was one of my favorite novellas of that year, and it made me really want to own the book. I really appreciate all 3 stories in the volume 1 collection, so if you guys are still in the festive mood, definitely go pick it up, or at least add it to your TBR so that this year during the Christmas time you can read it. But Jane Austen actually came out with a volume 2. The cover looks slightly different, but it's still cute, and it includes 3 novellas as well, so there's 6 novellas in total. This one was okay for me. I think average rating for all 3 stories was a 3 out of 5 stars, but I liked how that now I have both books on my shelf. So the next book that I got was actually a book that was purchased for me from Lacey Book Lovers. This was actually my Christmas present. It's really funny because every time she asks me like, what do I want for Christmas? What do I want for my birthday? I just don't have anything that on my list, simply because like I feel like if I wanted something, I would have bought it myself already. So my wish list is pretty short. But I decided to ask her to buy me this random book called Meet Me in Hawaii by Georgia Toffolo. And the reason why I asked her to buy me this book was because she actually wrote a book that I really liked last year called Meet Me in London, which is like a Christmas themed novel. I really liked the British chick lit banter that I found in Georgia's writing. So I assumed that I'm gonna really like this setting where our female heroines in Hawaii. So the next book that I picked up is this one called Love, Lisses, and Fancy Ships by Sarah Grender Ruse. And now this one involves our female heroine who is a yacht stewardess, and she has a bucket list of 30 things that she wants to do before she turns 30. This book involves like the shenanigans of her family actually helping her complete this list because they go on the same cruise ship as her, and she ends up kissing a stranger, and obviously she falls in love with a stranger. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this book yet, mostly because this book was also released fairly recently in December, so I'm excited to pick it up and to share with you guys my thoughts on it. So another book that I did pick up is this one called Just Haven't Met You Yet by Sophie Cozen, and this one's written by the author who wrote This Time Next Year. I haven't read This Time Next Year, and I don't own a copy of that book, but I think I want to because a lot of people talked about that book last year and they really enjoyed it, so I'm hoping I would enjoy it too as well. But this one follows our female heroine who is very like optimistic, romantic lifestyle reporter. She's on a business trip going to the Channel Islands, but then she loses her luggage, or she grabs the wrong luggage. When she opens up the luggage, she realizes that this is the luggage that belongs to her dream man. It sounds very far-stretched because like if I opened somebody's luggage, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, this is my future husband's luggage. Like I wouldn't think like that, but it is a romance novel, so I'm excited to see where it takes us. But this book follows the journey of our female heroine hunting down who the luggage owner is, and that they could possibly be on the same island. So a book that was gifted to me from St. Martin's Press is this one called Bad Luck Bridesmaid by Allison Rose Greenberg. And this one sounds like 27 Dresses, where our female heroine is cursed with always being a bridesmaid. What happens is that her best friend actually asks her to be a bridesmaid for her own wedding. And to her surprise, her ex is actually there too as well. So this one is a second chance romance where our female heroine has to convince him to fall in love with her all over again. One of the books that I picked up that I'm very excited to read is this one called You've Reached Sam by Dustin. Now this book has been released last year in the fall, and I really wanted to read it. But the problem is that this book is super emotional because it deals with death, and it deals with grieving, and it deals with like losing the love of your life essentially. And it also follows like kind of like the same plot line as this anime called Your Name, which is like this anime that I've watched. It's like an anime movie, but it's like an anime movie that I actually watched that I really enjoyed. And I don't really watch too many like anime movies. Regardless, this is about the story of our two characters who are boyfriend and girlfriends. They're in love. But what happens is that our hero actually passes away, and our heroine has to pick up the pieces of her life after losing the love of her life. She calls her boyfriend's phone hoping to hear the voice message, but to her surprise, he actually picks up, and she realizes that this phone allows her to talk to a different dimension boyfriend that hasn't passed away yet. And it's about her coming to realization of like letting go of things, and I think I'm just gonna bawl my eyes out. I'm so scared. So if you're a fan of reading books about books, this one's called The Last Chance Library by Freya Sampson. It involves our female heroine who is a person who really never gets involved with things because she just likes to keep to herself. But then she realizes that her library that she really likes is going to be forced to close down very soon. So now she has to break out of her shell and step out and voice her opinion. And she needs the help of everybody to kind of go against this decision that this library will be closed. She ends up meeting her old time like high school friend that has come back to the sleepy village that she lives in, and they spark a relationship, and I think I'm gonna really enjoy it. I think I've seen some reviews where people actually really like this book, so I'm excited to read this one. Another book that I have to show you is this one called The Fastest Way to Fall by Denise Williams. I really like Denise Williams' writing. I think it's so easy to sink into. Her words just flow really nicely. She's definitely very talented with writing. But basically, our female heroine is a reporter, and the way that she can get herself to the next level in her career is to join this fitness app and to write about her experience with this fitness app. She's a curvier girl, so she gives a different perspective to fitness apps and how sometimes diet culture is very toxic and how there's a negative like stigma against like curvaceous women working out and things like that. Our hero is a trainer. He's a fitness trainer. He's a personal trainer, and he's hired to teach our female heroine how to properly exercise and to basically have a healthier lifestyle. And they meet through the app. They're not supposed to meet through the app, but they end up falling in love. I read this book. I really enjoyed it. Definitely go pick it up soon. I think the last two books that I'm going to show you guys is these two indie romance novels that I have talked so much about on my channel already. This is part of the Trouble for Hire series by Cynthia Eden. I now have the complete collection. I'm so excited. So we have book number, I think 3. This one's called Jinx, You're It. And this one involves our hero, who is the class clown type of character, but gets super serious when the woman that she loves is in grave danger. Then we have this one called Remember Ramsey, which involves an amnesia trope. Our heroine unfortunately suffers amnesia, forgets about our hero, but she really wants to find that missing piece in her life, especially because she is pregnant, and our hero is nowhere to be seen because he's avoiding her because he doesn't know that A, she's pregnant, and also B, because he's a mob and he knows that he's going to be putting her in grave danger if he doesn't get out of the picture right away. But obviously when he finds out that she's pregnant, he's protective alpha hero that I love so much. So definitely go check out the Trouble for Hire series by Cynthia Eden when you have a chance. But anyways, that is it for all the books that I wanted to show you in this book haul. Hopefully you guys enjoyed all these romance books that I did pick up recently, and hopefully you guys have some things to add to your cart. I'll see you guys again next time in a new video. Bye.